let's implement our me our me route here, because basically what this me route is doing, basically it's not doing anything much, it's just calling back and saying me. Now we can do that by saying that our me wants to return the current authenticated user. So how do we do that? First, because our user was set on the request.body, we can get the ID. For example, like we're doing here, we can get the ID of the authenticated user there and then do a search for it. Or actually, since the whole user is on the request, we can just return back request.user. But for the sake of sanity, what we'll be doing is that we'll still make a request to the database to get the full detail of the user, although we're setting the whole full detail in the auth middleware. But maybe sometimes, for example, passwords and other things you might want to hide. So but we'll just make another query to the database to get the user again. So to do that, we'll do like a user. Since the user is authenticated, we'll do find by ID. So the ID of the user, it's just find by ID is like a query param for Mongoose that it will make find the user by ID. So in here I will do request.user, which is the current authenticated user, and then pass it the ID. Next is a callback, as we usually do. First takes an error and the next takes the found user, and then this if error, or let's say not found user, then I wanted to send to return res.status, and we'll set it to 401, maybe 401 or maybe 404 or something, and then send him the error, or let's say error finding user. But if everything goes as we planned, then it means res.send will send back our found user. So this found user is the whole object, although it will be sending with the password, which you might not want to do, but this is just a tutorial, so we'll not get deep into implementation details. Next up, so now we can easily restart our server here by just hitting here. So I restart my server, and the next time I call the me here is with the correct authorization header, I will get the currently authenticated user. So we have seen how we can implement that, which is pretty easy. To go back and see what we have done here is that first we have a way to sign up, and this sign up doesn't require authentication. Also sign in doesn't require authentication, it will only authenticate the user. So we signed up, created a user. Next up is that we can sign in by passing our email and the password, comparing the password if it's correct, and then if everything is correct, we create a session and create a unique session ID for the user, and then return it to the user as a token. So this token can be taken by the user to then make subsequent requests that require authentication. And we created this middleware here called the isAuthenticated, and also the auth middleware, which will be invoked on each and every request to check if there's a session tied to the user. So in there we know that we can create a simple basic authentication. It's not super secure, but it's pretty much working as we expected. And we made use of some things like TypeScript. For example, we made use of some TypeScript ways like interfaces to really get some interfaces with it, because for example in here we might want to know some certain things that are required by a user, such as if we say request dot accepted or anything, you know, we can get certain things like is, params, path, and other things that are available on the request object, which will give us very cool IntelliSense. So clear that out, and then we will be hoping for our next lessons.